In 2005, We Love Katamari was released. This game is a sequel to my favorite video game of all time, Katamari Damacy, and I must say, this game is equally as wonderful. This is the re-roll remaster which came out in 2023. This also includes Royal Reverie, which is essentially additional content that really goes into depth about the history of the king of all cosmos. And I think that that's wonderful. An interesting tidbit about this game's development, Keita Takahashi, who is the creator of Katamari Damacy as well as the director of the first two games, didn't really want to make a sequel to Katamari Damacy because he believed sequels hinder the creativity of the developers. But when Namco told him that they would be going forth with a sequel to Katamari Damacy either way, Keita agreed to direct We Love Katamari as well. And man, I'm glad he did, because this game still has all the wondrous charm of the first game while making substantial improvements. The most obvious improvement in We Love Katamari is the gameplay. The level design is much more varied and it's overall better. This game plays better and obviously it's a bit smoother too, but that's mostly just because it's a remaster. We Love Katamari is a very enjoyable game to play. It's very, very fun. And as I mentioned, the level design is a lot better. In Katamari Damacy, a lot of the level design was get the Katamari up to this size within the time limit. And then occasionally there would be a level where you have to roll up a certain amount of an item before the time limit expires, or get as many as you can. And then there's like the cow and bear levels that are quite infamous. There's a lot of variety to the levels in this game, like roll up as many flowers as you can, or roll up a bunch of fish underwater. Instead of rolling a Katamari, you even roll up a sumo, and you want him to eat as much food as he can so he can bulk up and defeat his opponent. In some levels, you'll roll up as much candy as you can. You'll roll up a snowman head so you can complete a snowman. You'll roll up fireflies so you can give a boy enough light to be able to study. And sometimes you even roll up animals in a zoo. In one level, you roll up as many origami cranes as you can, as many students as you can in a school, or you can even help an F1 racer achieve a faster time. And I think that the variety of this game is just great. It's very interesting, and it makes you wonder, like, what's this level going to be like? What does this kid possibly want? And for even a dog, you roll up the sun itself. You know, the dog talks, you know, so it tells you, hey, roll up the sun. And you can do it in this game, but you have to do all the other stuff first because the Katamari isn't big enough. The only level I thought was kind of annoying in this game was the campfire level. There's actually 3 of them. Not 1, not 2, but 3. And you have to roll up items in a campfire to keep the Katamari lit. And it needs to be big enough to the point where when you touch the campfire or the wood, it actually ignites. And that level is kind of annoying just because the timer is a bit strict. Now this is a very lenient game, not only in terms of time, but also in terms of success conditions. Sometimes you have to kind of go out of your way to fail. But for the campfire level, I always usually failed them the first time, simply because the timer was really strict and you have to kind of prioritize certain items over others. Once you play the level a couple of times, you kind of figure out where you're supposed to go to maximize your size. But in my opinion, these levels were kind of the lamest in the game. At least they were the least enjoyable to me. But it's cool seeing everybody parade around the campfire. But this game is very enjoyable, and the levels are very fun, they're interesting, and there's a ton of variety. I think this is absolutely the best direction Katamari could have went going into a sequel. Because to be honest, I really wouldn't know how do you make a sequel to Katamari Damacy. But why don't you just have fan service? The basic plot of this game is a lot of people love Katamari Damacy. It was a surprise success. Even the king is kind of surprised at how successful it is. So you go around fulfilling as many of the fans' wishes as you can because you want to make sure that the fans are satisfied. So a fan will say, hey, I want you to do this for me. And the king's like, I'm not that interested. And then the fan says, I love Katamari Damacy. I've been playing it all weekend. And the king's like, oh, well, I guess I'll do it then. And that's the main gist of this game, and I think it still has that really unique Katamari charm to it. And I just think it's absolutely a perfect way to make a sequel to Katamari Damacy. The fans love it. I mean, obviously, it's sort of like fourth wall breaking. It's kind of meta because they directly mention Ah, yes, We Love Katamari Damacy. That was a great game. You know, your goal in this game is to roll up the Katamari. So it kind of gets into like meta humor, and I think that's really funny too. And the prince, his goal is simply just to roll the Katamari. As I mentioned, this is a wonderful way to go about a sequel, and I honestly think that this game, objectively, is better than Katamari Damacy, which is funny because I gave that game a 10. But the only thing I like more of We Love Katamari is probably, or rather of Katamari Damacy over We Love Katamari, is the music. I absolutely love the soundtrack to Katamari Damacy. I think it's just wonderful. It's brilliant. This game has great music too, but in my opinion, I think the music of the first game is better. I also have a strong emotional attachment to it, so that has a lot to do with it as well. But this game has two songs I think are great. Everlasting Love and Baby Universe are great songs. But it's more than just the music, it's also the gameplay, you know? But yeah, obviously music is important for Katamari Damacy. Just like the first game, We Love Katamari does delve into a bit of cosmic horror territory, but once the Katamari gets up to a certain size, the human characters will begin running away from it, animals will begin running away from it, whenever police officers see it, they'll just begin unloading on it, and even towards the end of the game, you roll up every country in the world to create a Katamari big enough to prevent a meteorite from striking. But it's okay, you didn't actually hurt anybody whatsoever. But the king does go out of his way to tell you that everybody's alright, so we did save their lives, so that's nice. So I think it's kind of interesting how they say that, oh yeah, everybody's okay, everybody's happy that we stopped the meteorite, despite the fact that we kind of rolled up every country in the world on a single Katamari. And I love, once again, seeing the differences of size. I mentioned this in Katamari Damacy. I love seeing the Katamari start off really small and then getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then the maps itself becomes smaller. Suddenly that village that seemed so massive at the start is now a tiny little section of the map in the corner. I just think that stuff is so cool, and it's really interesting how it's developed too. The cousins return in this game, as well as the royal presents. In order to get a full 100% completion in this game, you do have to collect all the cousins. In the first game, the cousins were just optional collectibles. I guess they're optional in this game too. But the cousins didn't have any impact on gameplay. They simply were just like different characters that you could play in the two-player mode. But in We Love Katamari, by collecting all the cousins, you can actually unlock a level in which you roll up all the cousins, and then that gets you a special bonus level for collecting everything and rolling up all the cousins. And also you unlock the Rose level, which in order to get 100% completion on that level, you have to roll up 1 million roses, which takes probably several weeks, I'd imagine. Unless you collect like 100,000 a day, then you might be able to do it in 10 days. And I think that is a really interesting level. Of course, it saves your progress and everything. I don't know if I'll ever even attempt to do that. It'll take a very, very long time, but I think it's interesting that that level's even in the game to begin with. But in this game, when it comes to the cousins, you can actually play as the cousins on the Plaza Select screen or the Level Select. You can just simply walk up to a cousin and select them, and you can play as Ichigo if you'd like, which is always awesome. So it's technically just a different skin for the prince, but the king will refer to you as whatever the name the cousin is, so I think that's pretty interesting too. And of course, the two-player mode does return in this game as well. I didn't play it because I don't have another person to play with me, but in my heart, the Prince of all Cosmos played with me. But apart from that, you can also use the Royal Present camera to unlock stickers. The Royal Present camera sort of functions as a photo mode because the prince can actually take pictures. I believe you could do you could do it in Katamari Damacy as well. But you basically just take pictures of the stickers and you unlock them, and it does something. Maybe you can use it in the photo mode. I really don't know because I just got the cousins and kind of left it at that. Because the cousins unlock new levels and stuff. But, I mean, you can do that if you'd like. Another thing I really love about this game, too, when you're rolling around the world, you actually see landmarks from around the world, such as the Statue of Liberty or Mount Rushmore, the Taj Mahal. You get to see, like, Big Ben. You get to see the Egyptian pyramids and the Sphinx. It actually sort of does feel like you're rolling around the world and not just Japan and calling it world, which is nice. So they sort of expanded upon the whole international, like, yes, you're rolling this Katamari around the globe kind of thing, because we've got to make this Katamari 1,000 meters in size. But of course, you are the prince of all cosmos, and your father and mother are the king and queen of all cosmos. So naturally, you'd be doing a lot of space stuff, such as taking all the planets and stars that you've previously created by completing the missions and rolling them up on the Katamari to get big enough to roll up the entire sun. And that's really cool. The space stuff is awesome too. To be honest, I kind of wish a Katamari game would go more into the space stuff, but I guess there wouldn't be much to roll up considering the fact that 99% of space is just kind of like empty nothingness. But either way, We Love Katamari. I think this is a perfect sequel to an already fantastic game. The gameplay improvements are great. I think the level design is a vast improvement over Katamari Damacy. And although I still consider Katamari Damacy to be a 10 out of 10 game, to be honest, all the major improvements of We Love Katamari naturally would make me say that We Love Katamari is a 10 out of 10 as well. I just think this is a perfect sequel to an already, in my eyes, near flawless game. The King of All Cosmos also has an expansion in terms of how his story is told. There's a couple of levels when you actually play as the king and you get to learn more about how he himself became the king, and you get to see sort of how he learned about the Katamaris and rolling them up and everything. And I always thought it was very interesting to see more about the king, because typically the king is just kind of there to boss you around and observe as you roll up an entire Katamari, and then he's like, oh, I could have done way better than that, by the way. The King's levels are actually kind of short. The longest one is maybe 5 minutes, but there's this one really interesting level in which you have to roll through the school at night, and all these ghosts show up, and your goal is to collect 5 instruments to become the king. And if you touch any of the ghosts, the level immediately ends. I thought that one was definitely the most interesting, but it's nice that they actually added some new content to this game and didn't just simply make it a one-to-one remaster, because it shows that they at least somewhat care. And I think the improvement to the cousins is nice too, because you actually do get to play as the cousins in the regular level. You can just switch to them. And yes, the Hoshino family does return in this game. They have a side plot in Katamari Damacy in which their father is being launched into space, but the moon disappeared because suddenly all the stars in the night sky disappeared. We don't really know why that happened or anything. And you can look back at the Katamari memories and rewatch the cutscenes, and there's a jukebox so you can play all the best songs like Everlasting Love, so that's great. Overall, We Love Katamari is a beautiful game. We Love Katamari. I love this game just as much as the original. You should play Katamari Damacy, and you should also play this game too. This remaster is fantastic. It's a beautiful game, a perfect sequel, and I do think that We Love Katamari is absolutely a 10 out of 10 game, just like Katamari Damacy. We Love Katamari.